Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. It's Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. I'm Brian Richard, Business Manager, Financial Secretary with IBW Local 58 in Detroit, wanting to give you an update on the COVID-19 pandemic as it relates to the local. I'm going to start with the book numbers. Book 1 currently is at 1,200. Book 2, 730. These are inside books. The limited energy book 1 is at 350. That's a total of about 2,300 members. 2 weeks ago at this time, 2.5 weeks ago, we had a total of 300 members on all 3 books. So as many of you know, that is a disruption we're seeing in the employment picture. So we have been registering people on the out-of-work list and for subpay over the last 2 weeks. The first subpay checks for this week and last week will be direct deposited on April the 8th, Wednesday of next week. Next Monday, April 6th through April 16th, will be the traditional re-sign period for subpay. We're still working on a system to implement for members to re-sign. It will not be the old system of coming to the hall and signing in person. There will be an electronic component with a possible phone recorder for those that you cannot access it, for those of you that can't access it electronically. We will have more information on that next week. Again, it won't be necessary for anyone to sign on Monday the 6th in the traditional route of coming to the hall. There will be the same all of next week through Thursday of the following week. Once we get into the re-sign process, someone from the business manager's office will be verifying that the member is out of work and registered on the out-of-work list in order to continue receiving benefits. Again, the best way to get your unemployment benefits rolling are to get separated, get registered on the out-of-work list, and go from there. We're getting a lot of talk about what jobs are essential and non-essential. The governor has issued some guidelines on this. The first set of guidelines, there was a lot of wiggle room for employers to declare themselves essential. The second set, she reined it in quite a bit. We're still looking for some more definitive explanations to what is and is not essential. I will tell you anything to do with the public water system and public utilities as far as maintenance and maintaining generation, production, transmission, distribution, keeping power on to residents and businesses and their water has been deemed essential. We've asked contractors when they put in calls to let us know if the job has been deemed essential. And we're also going to try to get a statement from the contractor or the GC or the CM what they're doing to mitigate exposure to COVID-19. By that I mean, how often are they going to go around and disinfect the job, sweep up the garbage, empty the garbage cans? Are they going to have the proper amount of porta-john facilities, guarantee to keep them clean, have the hand washing stations, guarantee to keep them running and clean? Again, no one can guarantee a COVID-19 exposure-free job site. It can't be done, but there are a lot of things that can be done to mitigate those exposures. I would like to remind the members, as always, safety is of the utmost importance. When we refer to the CBA and it talks about a 40-hour work week is the required work week, that's also required to be a safe work environment. So again, any member who does not feel comfortable going to a job due to COVID, and we don't need to know your personal reasons, you are eligible for layoff. Now with that, with the layoffs, with the COVID-19 related layoffs, we have guaranteed the contractors a call by name provision to the same job site, same shift. The members, if the contractors put in a call for that job and it's not a call by name recall, it's a regular recall, the workers that were on that job will have first access to picking it back up. I'm going to extend that date to April 30th. So again, the April 3rd date is no longer in force. Those features, those call by name recalls and job site recalls will be extended to April 30th, 2020 to coincide with some of the orders from the governor, including the stay-at-home order. If you do pick up a job call for a COVID-19 essential job, we ask that you try to just follow the rules that have been, or the guidelines that have been put in place from Michigan Health and Human Services. That includes regular hand washing, maintaining social distancing. Some of the other things that will be done on the job site are staggering break and lunch periods to prevent the big gatherings of people. They'll be enforcing social distancing on entry into the job sites. And if you have to work in a situation where you can't maintain social distancing, please ask for the necessary PPE, be that a suit and a mask and gloves and a hood, whatever is deemed necessary for that, please request it. And I want everyone to know, if you can't get the proper PPE, you are under no obligation to perform those tasks. So there's a lot of rumors flying around. I will tell you that there have been some positive tests with 58 members. I know of 6 tests that I have confirmed, spoken with the members, and verified the test results. All 6 of these members experienced symptoms from almost no sickness to a bad case of the flu. They're all okay. Some of their family members got sick. Every one of them self-quarantined when they needed to. Some of them are coming out of that self-quarantine period, and they are all fine at this point. But I will tell you, brothers and sisters, as we're watching the national news, and if you're following the data, there will be more 58ers that get sick. There will be family members, there will be friends. I think everyone will eventually know somebody who's been infected with this virus. So I ask you again, please practice the hand washing, social distancing, stay home unless absolutely necessary. Try to plan your trips to get everything you need in the least amount of trips. And again, question the essential claim on all job sites. Everybody thinks their job's essential, I get that. The reality is there's a lot of jobs that really are not essential. I want to talk about the Health and Welfare Fund real quick. The trustees will be meeting next week to talk about, to make sure everybody can maintain coverage. And the people that are vulnerable right now are those that have not met their initial requirements to get coverage. They haven't been members long enough or had the opportunity to work those hours, so we're looking at putting something in place for them. And then also for the extended coverage, seeing how many members are not eligible and see if we can relax eligibility rules on that. Again, subpay, the change made to subpay was the 13 credit initial requirement has been lifted. Anybody who's booked one with half a credit will receive 10 extension credits. Now, the extension credits were given to all participants who qualify. The way that works, those of you with earned credits, and many of you are maxed out at 52 because of the work picture over the last few years, earned credits will be used before you get into extension credits. I think we will run you down to 2 earned credits and then dip into the extension credits. On extension credits, those are unearned credits. They're granted by the trustees for various reasons at various points in time. They can be taken away by the trustees. I will tell you, I believe these 10 extension credits are in place through the end of May. And again, I've asked the trustees on health and welfare and the sub-fund to meet on a weekly or every other weekly basis, because this is obviously a fluid situation. And again, both funds are well funded. In my opinion, they're overfunded. Many of the trustees have justified the overfunding by, we're going to need them for an emergency. The emergency's here. So I'm asking the trustees, start spending that money responsibly to make sure the participants have the benefits that we can afford to pay. The vacation fund trustees are also going to explore an early payout to the vacation fund. I believe the payout is scheduled for the last week of May. If we can move that up into April, we will. Now I'm going to go through some questions that have been popping up on Facebook and the forum. How are we dispatching? Right now we've been dispatching by phone. We've had a few recalls by name. We've had 1 or 2 new calls. The dispatcher and agent is calling, going in order on the out of work list. The official referral procedure during this time, it remains the same as far as when contractors are supposed to call in and get their job calls in. The only difference is we're not going to have people come down here. At this point, with the limited amount of calls, we can do it over the phone. How are we re-signing for sub-pay? I touched on that briefly. I got a question, are we losing sub-credits? I'm not sure what that means, but you will be burning through credits. There's no free credits here, if I'm understanding that question correctly. What are the protocols for apprentices pertaining to dispatching? All apprentices at this time, we're referring to the training center. They've been handling the layoffs and the dispatch of training assignments. What we are doing here is ensuring that their sub-pay apps are in order. How does the hall define furlough versus layoff? A layoff is when a worker is separated from their employer and goes back to that employer or another employer through the referral procedure. A furlough is when the worker is not separated from the employer and is taking time off unpaid with an open referral to that contractor. Are we having a meeting in April, a general membership meeting, even if it is remotely? We haven't made a decision on that yet. How are our funds being affected during this pandemic? Well, we're going to spend some of that built up reserve. So the good news is we're well funded and we're able to offer assistance to the men and women of Local 58 and the participants in the fund. And that's the whole idea about building those reserves for these raining days. But there will be an impact to the funds. There's been some investment impact with the fall in the Dow and the current investment climate. That's beyond our control. We'll continue to listen to our investment advisors and consultants to try and manage that loss. And then again, we will hopefully be spending some of the built up money, again, to provide well-deserved, well-needed benefits at this time in the local's history. So again, I'd like to thank everyone who's tuned in today or who watches this. Remember, we're all in this together, and I know I say it a lot, but I will remind everyone, wash your hands, take your vitamins, eat correctly, social distance, and stay at home if you can. Thank you, brothers and sisters.